Imagine this, a quiet English countryside where life moves slowly and everyone knows their neighbor. But beneath the calm surface, a storm was building, one that no one saw coming. A young man with everything to lose was hiding a secret so explosive that, if exposed, it could destroy his carefully constructed life. His friends didn't know. His girlfriend didn't know. But one person did. On the evening of December 12, 2019, a text message was sent. It was simple and unsuspecting, the kind of message you'd expect between friends. Let's meet up. But by the end of that night, one of them would be dead, and the other would be on the run, leaving behind a crime scene so vicious that even seasoned investigators were shaken. At first, the small community of Cheshire had no answers. A body had been found in a frozen, remote woodland, beaten, bleeding, and abandoned. Who was responsible for the crime? And why did the killer strike with such force that even autopsy reports described it as overkill? As the investigation began, what the police uncovered wasn't a simple case of teenage rivalry or a random act of violence. It was much darker. It involved lies, hidden relationships, and months of manipulation, all culminating in a murder that was meticulously planned. But why? This is the story of Matthew Mason, an 18-year-old farm worker and aspiring engineer with a seemingly bright future. Popular, charming, and respected by his peers, he was the last person anyone would suspect of committing a cold-blooded murder. But behind his friendly smile was a man trapped by fear that his biggest secret had fallen into the wrong hands. And then there's Alex Rodda. At 15 he was full of life, known for his outgoing personality and warm heart. But he wasn't just any teenager. He was holding something over Matthew Mason, a secret worth thousands of pounds, a secret so dangerous that it put him in the crosshairs of a killer who felt he had no way out. What was this secret? Why did it escalate to murder? And how could someone kill in cold blood, then calmly head to the pub afterward as if nothing had happened? This isn't just a story of betrayal. It's a story of trust exploited, deception laid bare, and the deadly consequences of hidden truths. Stay with us as we unravel the chilling events that led to the murder of Alex Rodda, because the truth behind this crime is far more shocking than anyone could have imagined. Welcome to True Crime Alibi, the place where we bring you the real stories behind the crimes that shook the world with every detail that matters. If you're captivated by true crime cases where hidden secrets lead to deadly outcomes, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss our next deep dive into shocking real-life events. And don't forget to hit the like button if you love detailed storytelling and the pursuit of justice. Now, let's continue unraveling the deadly secret behind the murder of Alex Rodda, a case of trust betrayed and lives destroyed. Let's begin by getting to know the people at the heart of this tragedy. Alex Rodda was just 15 years old when his life was taken. Friends describe him as fun-loving, bubbly, and full of energy, a teenager who loved making people laugh. His infectious personality made him a well-known figure at school, where he was adored by his friends and admired for his confidence. Alex lived with his family in the village of Knutsford, Cheshire, a small but close-knit community. Like many teens, he spent much of his time on social media, chatting with friends, and forming relationships in the ever-expanding digital world. But Alex was also navigating a deeply personal journey. He had recently come out as gay, a revelation that brought both support and challenges in his life. His family was supportive, but Alex had faced bullying from others. Despite this, he remained strong, determined to live authentically. He was the kind of person who lifted others up, never letting the negativity of a few overshadow his positive spirit. On the other hand, there was Matthew Mason. At 18 years old, he was seen as a young man with potential. He worked on his family's farm, a lifestyle that demanded hard work and discipline. His friends knew him as a popular, dependable guy who had a bright future ahead. Matthew had a girlfriend, and on the surface, his life seemed typical of any teenager about to transition into adulthood. But underneath this wholesome image, Matthew was hiding a secret, one he believed could destroy his reputation and relationships if it ever came to light. Matthew's secret was that he was having an intimate relationship with Alex. In a conservative rural area where expectations of masculinity were rigid, Matthew felt trapped between his desires and the fear of exposure. This relationship, initially a secretive connection, would eventually lead to disaster. Before we continue, think about this. Could the pressure of maintaining a hidden life push someone toward violence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. It was December 12, 2019. A cold evening in the quiet village of Ashley, Cheshire. To outsiders, it seemed like an ordinary night. But for Alex Rodda, it would be the last night of his life. The day began like any other. Alex had spent time chatting with friends online and making plans for the evening. At 5 p.m., he left his home, telling his family he was meeting a friend. There was no indication of danger, no sign that Alex sensed the deadly intentions waiting for him. Matthew Mason had lured Alex to a secluded wooded area using friendly messages that masked his true intentions. He had spent days planning this encounter, meticulously choosing the location and preparing for what he intended to do. When Alex arrived, he was greeted by someone he thought he could trust. But within moments, everything changed. Matthew had brought a large metal wrench, a weapon he had purchased beforehand. What followed was a brutal and frenzied attack. Matthew struck Alex repeatedly, focusing the blows on his head and upper body. The force was so severe that investigators would later describe it as overkill. Alex, disoriented and bleeding, tried to defend himself. But the remote location left him with no one to call for help, and within minutes, the assault ended with Alex lying motionless on the forest floor. After ensuring Alex was dead, Matthew calmly returned to his car, cleaned himself up and discarded evidence. He then drove home as if nothing had happened. Later that night, he met friends at a local pub, laughing and drinking while Alex's body lay abandoned in the cold. This chilling detail raises a critical question. How could someone commit such a violent act and then carry on with their evening as if nothing had happened? Share your thoughts in the comments below. By the next morning, Alex's family was panicking. He hadn't come home, and their worst fears were confirmed when sanitation workers discovered his body in the woods. The scene was gruesome, Alex's injuries were extensive, and it was clear that this wasn't a random act of violence. Police immediately launched a murder investigation, and it didn't take long for them to uncover key evidence pointing to Matthew Mason. The first major clue was the text messages exchanged between Alex and Matthew in the days leading up to the murder. Investigators discovered that Alex had been asking for money from Matthew, threatening to reveal their relationship if he didn't pay up. Over the course of several months, Matthew had transferred approximately £2,000 to Alex, desperate attempts to keep the teenager silent. But it wasn't just about money. Investigators believed that Matthew feared the fallout of being exposed as having a relationship with another male, something he believed could ruin his reputation. Further evidence emerged from forensic analysis. Blood matching Alex's DNA was found on Matthew's car and the murder weapon. Surveillance footage captured Matthew's movements that night, showing him driving toward the wooded area and later returning home. GPS data from his phone placed him at the exact location where Alex's body was discovered. But perhaps the most damning piece of evidence was Matthew's internet search history. In the days leading up to the murder, he had searched for ways to cover up evidence and dispose of a body without being caught. This chilling digital trail painted a clear picture of premeditation. The trial began in early 2021, drawing significant media attention. Matthew Mason pleaded not guilty, claiming self-defense. He told the court that Alex had been blackmailing him, threatening to expose their relationship unless he paid. But the prosecution dismantled this defense piece by piece. Prosecutors argued that the murder was premeditated. They presented evidence showing that Matthew had carefully planned the attack, from buying the weapon to choosing the remote location. Witnesses described how Matthew had acted normally after the murder, showing no signs of distress or guilt. Alex's friends and family provided emotional testimony, painting a picture of a young boy full of life who had trusted the wrong person. The jury listened as prosecutors outlined how Matthew's fear of exposure drove him to commit a horrific act of violence. In a final blow to the defense, the prosecution revealed that Matthew had made internet searches related to disposing of a body and avoiding detection. These searches left little doubt that he had intended to kill Alex and get away with it. In January 2021, after a trial filled with emotional testimony and damning evidence, Matthew Mason was found guilty of murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison with a minimum term of 28 years. For Alex's family, the verdict provided some sense of justice, but the pain of losing their son remains. His mother, Alex Rodda, has since become an advocate for LGBTQ+ youth and online safety, warning parents about the potential dangers of manipulation and secretive relationships. The case of Alex Rodda highlights several important issues, from the vulnerability of teenagers in online relationships to the devastating impact of societal pressures around sexuality. It's a heartbreaking reminder of how secrets and fear can lead to irreversible tragedy. To recap, this case wasn't just about a violent crime, it was about secrets, fear, and a young man willing to kill to protect his reputation. Alex Rodda's murder underscores the importance of open dialogue and support for young people facing challenges related to their identity. If you found this case as compelling as we did, please give the video a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to True Crime Alibi for more stories like this. Stay tuned for our upcoming content, where we'll explore more stories of crime, justice, and the search for answers.